If I were rebuilding your website for mobile, here's exactly what I would do. Honestly, if you're an overworked, overwhelmed CEO, I'd probably just start you on Squarespace or Shopify. It's easy, it loads fast, the design looks great, and for 90% of businesses, that's enough to get going. Now for sure, there's limits, but most people get stuck way before that, like writing the copy. That's where they stall for weeks or even months. These days with AI, it's literally, this is my business, write me an about page, and done. After that, I'd look at your images. Most people slap in random, cringeworthy photos. Your site needs to tell a visual story, just like your copy does. But honestly, a website is rarely your first problem. It's like having a LinkedIn profile. Sure, it's better than not having one, but it won't magically make people buy. The real issue is usually demand. If your business is slammed with bookings, great, raise prices. But for most people, the problem is no one knows who you are. That's why we start with ads or organic content, so that people can find you. Then once people are actually clicking through, that's when your website becomes crucial. Because if they land there and bounce, that's your marketing dollars walking right out the door. See if 500 clicks only gets you one booking. Then I'd build another page to try to get you one booking per 100 clicks. Keep iterating, tightening mobile nav, making it more like Apple. Fewer steps, cleaner flow. It's just one part of your funnel, but that's exactly how it starts. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this deep dive. All right, welcome to the deep dive. If I was rebuilding your website for mobile, here's what I'd do. First things first, is the platform I'm on good for what I'm really trying to do? Because sometimes deciding an actual platform, like should I use WordPress or Shopify or Squarespace or things like that, that is the first step that saves you so much time and so much effort, so much energy. For instance, if I was just maybe a consultant or, someone that just needs to get bookings to my website, and I'm not looking to do any sort of massive changes, it's not really a crazy e-commerce store, I would say perfectly fine for you to go with something like Squarespace. Because what you don't want to do is get caught in this mess where you're building something epic, amazing, you feel like it's going to be this big thing, and then it turns out to be this huge, long, drawn out project. Going on to Squarespace, you really can, for the common user, not me, for the run-of-the-mill person, they can get a website up in one day. And I'd ask myself, okay, the time that it takes me, going out, trying to find someone that can do all these other things, finding a professional, etc., is it worth all the time, the risk, the money, blah, blah, blah? Or am I capable of doing it myself? Now, there's a couple different buckets here where you have people that are, if you're a CEO or founder or whatever, you don't want to spend your time a lot of times in the technical space. You're overwhelmed as it is. You have slide decks, you have pitch decks, all these different things that you're trying to do. And so sometimes it's just better to say, I'm going to drop the cash, and this is an investment, and take it off my plate. Amazing. I'm going to go close more sales because that's how I generate money. That's awesome. And I think for those people, the right decision may be to find someone to do it. But you also have to go on the lines of a lot of times when we take things and take it off our plate and we give it to somebody else, we don't realize that we then actually take on another responsibility of delegation, right? And of review and making sure it's right and going back and forth. So you give possibly a big job to somebody, but you then still have to manage that relationship. And guess what? You're assuming even more risk, because if they mess it up, then not only are you down or negative days in money, you also have to now still do the thing and make a gamble and say, do I want to trust another person with this? Should I do this myself? So I think if you are in a business where your website is not the biggest thing, you're really just using it to get bookings or whatever, I think you can be completely okay with honestly stepping in and saying, okay, ChatGPT, and we literally can do this right now, but ChatGPT, I run a chiropractic, practice, I only really need a home page, an about page, my services page, and a way for someone to book. You could do that. So that would be my initial first recommendation. If you have a crazy clunky website that's not doing it well, technology has advanced well enough for you to be able to use some of these tools that are really low to the ground. And I think with the combination of AI, starting to really put it into your day-to-day life, like a lot of the hard work before with building out websites was like, what do I say? What is it that I put here? This looks great, but now I have to write the copy for it. And that was always the other headache on top of building a website, was now I got to say something. And then you take days and weeks and sometimes months to get back copy from clients because it's such an anxiety-ridden thing. But what you can do is you can just use AI and say, hey, AI, here goes XYZ about my business. Can you write me an about page? Can you write me, headlines for these pages? And you can do that, copy, paste, boom, there you go. And I think the vast amounts of headaches have disappeared now that we have these type of technologies like Squarespace, and then also combined with AI. Now, there is a ceiling that you will hit depending on your growth. I don't think a lot of people are absolutely close to that ceiling. So I think still my advice goes for 90% of people that you'll be okay, you'll be fine. Most people, the problem with websites is most people think the website is the reason why they're not getting sales. They're not getting money, they're not bringing in the income. And the website is only part of the problem. It's in the middle of the funnel, right? Yesterday we talked a lot about how to create a PPC campaign, a pay-per-click campaign. If you haven't watched that video, highly recommend going back and watching that and looking at that and learning a bit about how to actually do that, or how I would go about doing it if I was working for you, or if I was in your situation. It's tough because you really have 3 funnels that you have to be responsible for as a business owner. You have your marketing funnel, you really have your conversion funnel, and then you also have like your delivery funnel. And each of these can have their bottlenecks. Each of these the flow of water, the flow of things can stop in any one of these. In focus and strategy, as Alex Ramosi kind of deems it, or I'm paraphrasing, it's just knowing what to do next. Being able to say, I'm going to choose this and not do any of these other things. I'm going to focus on this. And with the website, many times when I have people come to me for websites, they feel as though the website is going to it's going to magically just close them a lot of sales. Or at least I get the impression that is. It's like, once I have a website, now I have a professional presence, and everything's going to be amazing. But truly, all a website is it's kind of the same thing as you having a social media profile. Like, truly. It's almost the same thing as you having your LinkedIn. It's almost the same thing as you having your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikTok, your Snapchat, whatever. All those, if we think about it, are profiles. At the end of the day, they're profiles. a profile that we can post content to, and we can also consume content from other people. That's it. And so people visit your profile to see what you're about and understand, like, okay, this person says they build bikes, and I'm, into biking and road, whatever. Are they showing the skill to actually be able to fix bikes or build bikes or whatever it is? And so you're kind of checking that out. And also vibe check. Do I vibe with this person? Is this person a good vibe? You're looking, you're like, oh man, the kids and the, the coffee and the da-da-da-da. So you're filling it out. And so it's a trust thing. A website is the same thing. A website allows you to build credibility and post your portfolio, your content, or talk about your services. And own your own domain. Easier to send someone to my link or my click. You can start to track analytics and stuff like that. Technically, the social media platforms own the audience. When you have a website and you kind of hook that up to a mailing list, you can then start to actually own your own list. But I won't get too far down the line on that. So I ask you, if we're talking about bringing in more money, generating more revenue, sales, I ask you, is having a LinkedIn profile gonna be the end all, be all for making you money? And most people would say no. It's just part of it. It's a small part of it. It's better to have a LinkedIn profile than not have a LinkedIn profile, right? Discovery. And so with the 3 different funnels, marketing, sales, delivery, you want to create such a wide scope for people to know about you, right? The more people that know of you, the more that you can actually convert down the line. If you have a small amount of people that know about you, let's just say only 100 people know about you in general, like hard pressed to start making conversions down the line, because it's a 1%, 2%, less than that type of thing. So kind of coming back to the website, if I think really knowing where is my bottleneck at right now, what is the problem, and it's either supply or demand, right? So if you are booked out all the time, always, forever, right? You got all these people coming in the door, which most businesses aren't, but there are some businesses. You now have a supply issue, right? You don't have enough supply to, from the demand that's coming in. And with that, if you're already booked out, you can just raise prices. You know what I mean? Like, you literally can double your prices and do the same amount of work and make double the revenue. Sounds pretty chill. But most people, they have a demand problem. We have enough supply, but we don't have enough people coming in the door. And so top of funnel, we talked about this yesterday. Definitely go back and watch that video. You need to get traffic and get people understanding and knowing about it, right? So that's top of the funnel of marketing funnel. Everybody's starting to learn, understand, know, whatever. Then we're going to kind of go down a little bit further, which is kind of middle of funnel. Once we get the clicks, people clicking, we fix that part of it. Now we have our website that they're going to. They're clicking onto our website. So this is middle of funnel. And when people click, right, they bounce. If they click and then the page does not load or does not load fast enough, they're like, I'm out. It's kind of like someone seeing you did a good enough job of putting the sign out in the highway to say, hey, come have breakfast with us, right? And then someone getting to the store, right? That your store is kind of like your online stores, your physical store is kind of like your online store. They open the door, they look in, and they turn right back out the door, and they're like, nah, not for me. There was a reason they did that. It could have been that the line was too long, right? They open the door and they're like, oh, this is too busy, too crowded, whatever. They see people waiting around. Nah, I'm going that way. It could be that they looked around and they're like, ugh, this looks a little outdated. This looks a little, you know, ooh. They may look around and be like, they said pancakes, but like, or they may look around and the staff's just chilling, doing nothing. Like, there's many reasons why people bounce. They're like, nah, I'm out. And so knowing that, it's a very important problem to solve. But again, it is not the website, it's not the end all be all. You got to solve the top of funnel problem before you get to the website. But now we're in the middle, and this is very important, because now, if let's say that you got 100 people coming to the website, you want to convert some of that. And if you pick a platform, like I said, Squarespace, like, you probably won't have a problem with the load speed or the bounce speed or whatever. If you do, like if you are having problems with that, I would think, okay, what server am I hosting this on? Most of you guys are probably hosting on GoDaddy, stuff like that. If you expect to have a lot of traffic come in, right? You start to gas advertisement and you now have a lot of traffic coming in. That means a lot of people are coming and going in and out the doors, right? If you're at that point, most people are not at that point, but if you're at that point, this is where I would say, maybe we don't do Squarespace, which, by the way, great option. Maybe we need to actually do something a little bit more advanced, like DigitalOcean, right? DigitalOcean is they do many things, but essentially you can buy, cloud space or whatever for your server. Your server just pretty much is being where your website is hosted at. It's pretty much like your land. And I'm trying not to get too technical, but the faster your server, the CPU, the memory, kind of just like a computer, the faster your website will load. Now, that's not to say that we can't bloat our website down with images and JavaScript and CSS and stuff like that. But if I was picking land, right? And as a business owner, if you're a brick and mortar, you know this. You want to pick the best land, the place that's going to get the best eyeballs, the best traffic, or whatever. Well, in internet world, we can hijack the traffic. We can figure out how to already just get the traffic there. So that's not exactly a constraint, but you can have not great land, meaning the land it's versus the land being paved, it's rocky and gravelly, or it's dirt, right? That would be maybe an old server or not updated server or whatever. So you want to make sure your land is already optimized and good. So that would be my first kind of look. Okay, what are our load speeds? What's all that stuff? And I'd say first. I'm saying first a lot, like first, second, third, whatever. I double check that out, make sure that's good. Then we want to think, okay, we have people getting to the website. Now we want to think about the design, the avatar, the written message, the above the fold. We want to think about that stuff, because most people think the website is like this. I just make a pretty homepage. Just make an about page, a service page, a contact page, and Bob's my uncle. That's it. And Bob's your uncle, whatever. That's done. But that's not really where it stops. It's actually where it begins. Like, it's a good baseline. It's good to have a pretty looking website. Great. But we're in the business of making money. Right? We're in the business of converting traffic, eyeballs, to people that are interested, into people that will close and book with us. And the only way you can start to do that is, of course, if you track, right? And so there's several tools that we can use, or that I would use personally, and that I do use if I was assigned to kind of like rebuild your website for mobile. And I haven't even gotten really to the point of mobile, because a lot of this stuff is foundational before you even get to the mobile part of it. We want to check your load speed, your site speed. gtmetrics.com is a really amazing tool that gives a heavy breakdown of what is bogging down your website. So we can get a actual speed test. We can do that, and we want it to. And it also grades it from A to E. So we want to get the speed test all the way to A, maybe B, so that we know that speed is not the reason that we're losing, right? Before people even consume your message, that's the big thing. We want to make sure people can get to the website. When people get to the website, there's another tool called Hotjar. Hotjar.com is this tool that allows you to actually track what people do on your website, a visual screen recording of every single person that visits the website. This is the same thing as if you were in a brick and mortar, right? And you had, like, I don't know, a camera, and you wanted to try to track the traffic and the patterns of where people go first. Very, very important, because it allows you to understand what thing people are getting held up on, what people think are interesting, etc. You literally get to pretty much be behind their shoulder and be able to see what they're looking at and what's interesting to you. So both of those things are super important for being able to increase our conversions. After we kind of started to getting that baseline data, and let's just assume we have a beautiful design, which, by the way, if to get a beautiful design website, there's the best thing I've found to do really in the day. It's kind of like you start with a template. There's so many beautiful, amazing templates that either you can buy, like off Theme Forest, or that are already loaded into something like a software called like Elementor. So starting with like a base, because it takes 80% of the work out for you, then going in, replacing images and text and copy and stuff like that with AI. You literally just say, hey AI, you can literally take a screenshot of your website. That's what I would do. I'd take a screenshot of the hero, screenshot of each section, be like, boom, here it is. Here's what I'm looking at. I'm a dentist. I'm a dentist, or I'm a roofing, whatever business. I need you to swap out the copy, the text, or whatever. And this will be good enough. It will be way better than anything that you can write up. Trust me. I do that. Now you have a beautiful design with really good text. And then as far as images goes, there's a lot of places you can get free images from. I would either, if this was something I really cared deeply about, I'd go to adobestock.com or stock.adobe.com and really try to find images that matched it matched the energy. Reading through the text as we're a roofing business that's been in Asheville, North Carolina for 35 years. I want to find an image on Adobe Stock that's of Asheville, or of that feeling, that neighborhood feeling. We want to go a little further past the cheesy stock, right? A lot of times with imagery, you can tell a story. That's actually what film is in general. When you put, you have one clip, and then you have one clip and two clips, or one clip, 2, 3, 4. There's this study. I can't remember where and what the names and all the things was, but early in film, they wanted to make the point that cutting images together make us feel different things, right? And so they had this image of the first example was an image or a video of this mom and I'm trying to think. I believe it was a mom and her baby, right? And she's looking at the baby and whatever. And the next image is this old man giving this kind of look and feel and kind of like that, almost like it looks like awe, right? That's the first story. So what we take from that is there goes the mom taking care of the baby, and the old man's approving. And so that's a very caring, heartfelt message. It feels good. The other one was a woman, a young girl or a young woman in a bathing suit, right? and she's just running to the beach, and then it goes still back to this old man, exact same image of him doing the and it's like pretty much saying like pervy old man looking at it like a girl, like it. Two completely different messages. The last image was exactly the same, but you're changing that first image, and it means something completely different. And so we can do the same thing with our imagery and tell stories. So you, in a sense, the design of your website tells an entire story. The copy, the text that we got from ChatGPT tells a story of our business, but our imagery or our videos or whatever, they too throughout the page can tell a story if you think about them together. So I'd think more about how they all collectively go together versus just randomly picking image that fits here, fits here, fits here. How do they cohesively go together? That's what I do personally. And then let's get to the mobile part of it. Being able to, like, things have gotten really good as far as mobile design goes. There's still a lot of people that mess it up, but there are design essentials that allow you to make mobile sites look great on desktop and desktop mobile responsive design. And the basics of this maybe is kind of like, okay, if I have a headline and the text subheadline and the call to action, all that is just one kind of stack. So that still looks the same almost on mobile and desktop. But then let's say below that fold is I have like 4 features that make us great, right? We're quality and speed and high tech and neighborhood, people, whatever. You have 4 going across on the mobile design, on the desktop design, 1, 2, 3, 4. But then when you get to tablet size, that might just be a 2 grid, right? Versus a 4 grid. 1, 2 images up here, 3, 4 of the features. And then when you get to mobile, you got, a stack of 1, 2, 3, 4. Not too hard to configure and make happen. And most design is a bit like that. The problem I think people kind of get into trouble with or have a hard time with is more navigation. Mobile navigation versus desktop navigation. Because you're trying to fit a lot more into a mobile space versus a desktop space or a tablet space or whatever. And you have to be more intentional. But I will say that your navigation is bar none almost the most important thing on your website. It's the thing that people interact with most. Pressing search, pressing the menu button, boop, 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 boop. So if you get that wrong and make it confusing, make it clunky, and it feels hard to use, like it's like Apple. Like, they do their damnedest to make every step like simple. Versus instead of this being 5 steps, how can we make it 1 step? Or 2 steps or whatever. So we really think about our navigation. We say, okay, how can I make this feel good? And also with navigation, a lot of times you're thinking about what's the intention of the website, because some navigation is good for certain types of websites and some aren't. There's standard things like the home button and the search button, etc., whatever. But there are some things that we're like, okay. And if you look at most mobile design nowadays, if you look at most apps, they've really gotten a good foundation that works, I feel like, pretty amazingly. If I go to the App Store, right, at the very bottom, I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 icons. 5 icons on most mobile displays fits pretty well. And at the very top, you'll have a bar, and I'll go to another, we'll go to let's say, let's go to, it was Disney. I have no clue what Disney's going to look like real quick. Also, that's soundbite. That's they actually have 4 at the bottom, right? Home, search, download, and then profile. So we can get pretty. I'm going to click one. Oh, that's going to try to, oh. You don't want to get copyright. Bluey. Anyways, all that to be said, right? It goes so much deeper. That's why I say, like, if you're just kind of chilling, picking like Wix or Squarespace or Shopify or whatever, it kind of takes a lot of that design stuff out the way. You're still gonna have to fill it with good copy, which we can do from ChatGPT, but it takes a lot of that out the way. Because what happens is now, if we're gonna get serious about this, we're thinking about conversion. And conversion is different than just making your website pretty. Conversion's like, okay, we have homepage A or we have landing page A, and right now, out of 500 people that come to the website, we get, let's just say one person that clicks the booking button and actually books. They click that, or we have one person that signs up for our newsletter. So like, that's a pretty bad conversion, right? You paid for 500 clicks. By the way, most people are getting $1 per click. So you paid $500 for one person to click the button to get to your booking page to book an appointment. Again, if this is to sell a house, I mean, shit, that's okay. But like, we want our ad dollars to go further. So like, if my clicks are now 50 cents per click, we talked about in that last video, that means that 100 clicks costs $50. And so if we can get people to not bounce out the website feels good, we say, okay, this landing page that we made or that we created is getting, like we said, one click for every 500, or one booking for every 500 clicks, which would now be $250 if our CPC is 50 cents. Can we do better? Can we say for every 500 clicks, can we get, 5 people book, which really just translates to down to, for every 100 clicks, can we get one person to book? Okay? Meaning that for every $50, we can get a booking. That's what that really converts to. And so you take one landing page and have a second landing page. And you said you divide your traffic between the ad, this is at least what I would do, and see which gets the better conversion. And then you decommission the one that's not getting as good of a conversion. Let's just say the second version that you got did get you one booking per 100 clicks. Now the next thing is like, hey, can we get 2 bookings per 100 people that we have? And then you look at it, you optimize it, you just make you continue to improve and improve and improve and improve, so that you can get to a point where you're like, every 100 clicks is in, and I'm throwing numbers out here, but like every 100 clicks, we're getting 5 people booked. That means like every 20 people that visit our website, we get a booking, or we get someone to click into, doesn't mean that they'll actually book, but like clicks over to the next step, which is a whole nother part of getting people to book, and then people to show up, and then people to convert and close them, right? It's part of the funnel. And so many people get so demoralized, and I understand why, because either one, they're working on the wrong part of the funnel. They haven't fixed the traffic to even come in yet. And so they have such little traffic that's actually coming in that the data they're getting is it's not enough. So that would be, if I took over your website, if I had to build a mobile website for you or redesign your mobile website, that's how I would think through it. Because it's a continuum. It's not you one and done. It can be. If it's not the problem, remember, if you have a traffic problem, you're not doing ads, you're not doing organic, you shouldn't waste the money or spend the time on the website. Get the website good enough to just be like sitting there. Once you start getting those really good clicks, 50 cents per click, 40 cents per click, 30 cents per click, whatever it is that you get, then now the advertising isn't the problem. The organic's not the problem anymore. Now the website is. And guess what the next problem is? The next thing that you got to solve. Once you actually really fix the website and the clicks that are going through the website and the signups, whatever it is that you're doing, you got to then get to the bookings. Like, why are people not booking? Or why are people not showing? Or if people are showing, the next part is our close team, our sales team. Like, we're getting people on the phone or in person or into our place, but they're not closing. And so it's just a continuum. And then not only that, right? You get people through, that you close them, and then guess what? Now you have to deliver for them. And then you're like, okay, why are people dropping out the bottom of this funnel? Why aren't they not staying? Because now they're a customer. How can we increase the LTV? How can we increase all the stuff? And so anyways, that's what I would think about personally if I was working on your website. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. And I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Peace.